Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
And I finally have got to a place where I've just accepted she's 7 and she's going to have a meltdown. And it's not because I'm a bad parent and it's not because she's a bad kid.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
I kind of want to celebrate the fact that it's the end of the week because it feels good to get to Friday. But I'm also mindful that anyone who's in lockdown right now, it just feels like another day. And tomorrow will be another day, and it's just another day if you're in lockdown. So to the half of Australia who is in lockdown, you have our commiserations and our sympathy. But we're doing our best to live our lives to the fullest because we're not because we want to rub it in, but because we recognise what a blessing and a privilege that it is to be able to have a life.
And we have no idea when it's going to be taken away from us either.
Right. Yeah, who knows? By the way, we are Justin and Kylie Coulson. We're the parents of 6 kids. I'm the founder of happyfamilies.com.au. And every Friday we press pause on our lives and even press pause on the podcast content, I guess. And we do this thing called I'll Do Better Tomorrow. If you were to summarise I'll Do Better Tomorrow, Kylie, how would you sum it up? It's
really an opportunity for us to reflect on the week that we've had and the interactions that we've had as parents with our children and sometimes with ourselves, and to tease it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
To really kind of work out, did we nail that? Do we need to kind of talk about this? Do we need to do better? Is there room for improvement?
We believe that the best way to be a better parent is to be intentional about parenting. And so this is our chance to reflect and say, if I was to revisit this week, what would I do better if I had to start all over again tomorrow? So that's the purpose of I'll Do Better Tomorrow. We're going to share one reflection each based on the week that was and highlighting what we learned or what we need to do better tomorrow to make it work. And I'm going to go first. Do you mind?
Never.
Okay. So last Saturday, we had pretty much several days in bed. Both had colds, both been flu-y. We were still dealing with a little bit of the residue of that. Pretended not to be, but it's been a really tough week. Spent a lot more time in bed than normal. And by Saturday, I was just climbing the walls. I was like, we need to be outside. And neither of us could breathe, neither of us could talk. So we put our masks on and thought we need to do something outside away from people. So I just said, we're going in the car. The kids didn't want to. Everyone was moaning and complaining.
An hour and a half in the car is never...
Well, I didn't even know where we were going to go. I just decided...
But it ended up being an hour and a half in the car.
Thought, we're going to go to the Sunshine Coast. I want to be on the coast. I want to take a bushwalk, or I want to walk along the beach, or I want to do something. 90 minutes later, we pulled up out the front of a wonderful outdoor recreation area. Not sponsored. Need to just highlight that. Not sponsored, but it's somewhere we've been before. And I just thought, I'm taking the kids to Bellingham Maze. It's literally one of those hedge garden mazes that these people have grown, and you pay a few bucks to go in and you can walk through the maze, get to the centre where there's a little bit of a fort or a staircase that you can climb up and have a look at the maze from the top in the middle.
To try and work out how to get out again.
That's right. And we bought a couple of treats for the kids on the way up, and something remarkable happened. The kids treated each other nicely in the car the whole way.
The whole way.
It was like they were friends. It was brilliant. And I thought, we should do this more often. I was the one that was struggling. I'm like, oh gosh, an hour and a half in the car, this is killing me. Because with lockdowns and things, we don't do a lot of travel like that anymore. But wasn't it just great to be outside, being active in the sun and the wind with the kids, exploring?
So it was probably a little bit adventurous for us both because we'd been in bed all week,
right,
and the extra energy required to walk around the maze. I don't know how many times we walked in and out of those rows trying to...
The kids were totally lost.
Find our way out. But the kids just loved it. And I know at one point I looked at you and I said, can we just tell them how to get out of here? Because I'd had a really good look at the map.
You were trying to get into the middle. They still hadn't made it to the middle. And you're like, let's just take them to the middle. Let's get them up there. And I was like, no, they're lost. Let's just let them find their way. We can literally just walk slowly behind them. And they were running up and down the maze walls trying to find their way through. It was great.
Miss Emily, she worked it out. There was a few holes in the hedges, and she was thinking that she'd be able to crawl through.
We're like, no, that's against the rules.
Well, not only is it against the rules, they'd worked out a lot of people had been doing that, and so there's actually chicken wire between the hedges, so she couldn't. So she actually had to find these places all by herself.
So the whole thing, It took them about 45 minutes to get to the center of the maze, and it was just delightful to be outdoors, to watch the kids soaking up the sunshine and enjoying a really novel and unusual experience. And I learned something as well. I learned that a labyrinth is actually a pathway to follow and is different to a maze. Like in a maze, you can get lost and there's all those dead ends, but a labyrinth is actually an ancient design, and we walked a labyrinth while we were there as well. I thought that was fascinating.
Oh, I didn't read that.
Yeah, the whole idea with the labyrinth is that it's this beautiful design, and it's essentially a way to take the longest pathway to the middle.
Ah.
And that's the way they design it. It's fascinating. And so,
well, you did say that, because as I walked in, I was very close to the middle, but then I kept walking and I got further away from it before I came back into it.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah. So a labyrinth is not a maze. A labyrinth is an ancient design that takes you from the outside to the inside in pretty much the longest possible way. It's just gorgeous. And then you've got the maze that the kids explored. We learnt stuff. The kids got to be creative. I got decimated by our 11-year-old in Connect 4. They had a big sort of like a life-size game of Connect 4 that we played.
Oh, don't worry. I made up for it.
Yeah, you destroyed her.
I destroyed her.
It's like you enjoyed. I can't believe she beat me so badly.
Well, I was feeling pretty bad because
she beat me 4-1.
Yeah.
4-1.
So I thought I was not going to get anywhere. But the highlight of my day was we did a game of minigolf at the end.
Yeah. Oh, are you going to skite about how?
I am, because it literally is the first time I have ever even come close to winning, but I pipped you at the post by 1 point.
Well, I'm just going to highlight Bellingham Maze does need to upgrade the quality of their surfaces.
Oh, you're going to blame it on the surface now.
That's right.
Yes. You were very, very surprised when I got my hole in one, because that would probably be the first time ever.
That was pretty cool. Anyway, my I'll do better tomorrow. I know it's a bit of a travelogue and we've talked a long time about it, but essentially when you're not feeling well, so long as you can do it in a socially safe way, socially distanced way, which we were able to, there's something amazing about getting outside, getting the kids outside and just exploring the outdoors low key. Doesn't have to be expensive, doesn't have to be heavy duty, just get outside and do it. It was such a refreshing way to spend the day. And we ended up spending like 3 or 4 hours there. It took up most of the day, and it felt really nice to come home. The kids were nice to each other on the way home as well. It just was a terrific day. So I'll do better tomorrow. I think that we should do something again tomorrow that doesn't require a 90-minute car drive, but we'll definitely get the kids outside.
I like it.
We'll find out Kylie's I'll do better tomorrow after the break.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
For a happier family, try a Happy Families membership, because a happy family doesn't just happen. Details at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we're sharing our reflections from the week that was.
Okay, so I had a win. I feel like I got it right, and it just was a great reminder of the importance of getting outdoors and doing exploratory or creative, active things while we connect with the kids. What's your I'll do better tomorrow, Kylie?
So my reflection comes from an experience that we had the other night. We had some friends over, and Miss Emily, at the very end of the night, it was a bit of a late night for her.
I think it was about 9:30 p.m.
And she had a meltdown.
I've got to just say this really clearly, though. If you're a parent who gets really, 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 really tied up on rigidity around routines, I get it. But sometimes it's nice to relax. But there is a cost that comes from relaxing, and this is where you're going, right?
Yeah, so she had an absolute meltdown. So we invited 2 families over. We haven't seen them for ages with all of the restrictions and stuff. We haven't been able to have them over. We were all together in the lounge room. So the 3 families all together in the lounge room. We're closing up. Things are starting to wind down and we're getting ready to say goodbye, and Emily just lost it.
Explosiveness, massive.
One of the things that I have struggled with over the years, as you have founded Happy Families and then shared all of your parenting advice.
How to make families happy.
is I have really, really struggled with dealing with the kids in public.
Right. When they're not happy themselves.
When they're not happy, that's right. And feeling like there's an expectation that I'm going to do something amazing, or that why would our children be like that? Because our children would be perfect, wouldn't they?
Right. So what you're saying is every parent experiences parent guilt or embarrassment when the kids behave in ways that are not socially acceptable, but you might feel a little bit of extra pressure being the wife of, or being Mrs. Happy Families.
Maybe, just a little.
Okay. So the meltdown happened in front of these 2 friends of ours.
And I finally have got to a place where I've just accepted she's 7 and she's going to have a meltdown. And it's not because I'm a bad parent and it's not because she's a bad kid. It's just, it's 9:30 at night. She should have been asleep a good 2 hours ago. And it's hard. It's hard being 7. It's hard being in different situations all the time and things not going to plan. But it's okay. And so I let her have a little tantrum. I tried to calm her down, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. She was not interested at all in cuddles or...
I love that. I know I've just cut you off. I'm sorry to do that, but I just have to emphasize, I get told all the time by parents, I try everything that you tell me to try, and it works sometimes, but sometimes it just doesn't. What am I supposed to do then? And the reality is sometimes there is nothing that you can do. Sometimes there's no parenting technique that you can try. There's no connection that will be accepted. Sometimes it's 9:30 at night and your 7-year-old is overtired and literally losing the plot, and there is nothing you can do.
So I took her down to her room.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I took her down to her room. It wasn't time out. It was just an acknowledgement. I've got everybody else in the room. When you're ready to calm down, you're welcome to join us. If you need a hug, come and get mummy. I'm really happy, but let's just have some time.
She wasn't listening to anything. She was just
calm down. So she screamed and screamed and screamed. And finally I left, and then you went down and just checked in on her, and she did not want to have a bar of you either.
No, she gave it to me.
And then about 3 minutes later...
Yep.
She walked back into the room, came and gave me a hug, and got on with the night.
As my dad would say, happy as Larry.
Yeah.
And as I would say, who's Larry? And Dad would say, some happy guy.
And so I guess my take home is that, number one, accepting that kids will be kids and it's okay is so important, because as a result, I'm able to respond in a completely different way to the way I would respond if all I could think about is, what are my friends thinking about me? What are my friends thinking about Emily right now? This is terrible. I'm not going to be able to be my best self. And then secondly, recognizing that sometimes there's actually nothing that I can do to change the situation in the moment, and I just need to let the moment pass.
I'm really glad you shared that one. I do remember how calmly you dealt with her screams. You were so calm that I was like, oh, I don't need to do anything. And then I realized that you'd walked out and she was still screaming. And that's when I walked in to try, and I was like, no, I can see why you walked out. Because she was like, go away, leave me alone. I'm like, all right, I'm just closing the blinds and come out when you're ready. And like you said, 3 minutes later, she just needed to figure herself out. What a great story. I'll do better tomorrow. We do it every Friday. We would love to get your feedback on the podcast. If you're enjoying it, please let us know via Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star ratings and reviews help everyone to find out about the podcast and make their family happier. Hey, have a great weekend. We hope that you get to spend some high quality time with your family this weekend. Happy Families Podcast, as always, produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media with Craig Bruce as our executive producer. If you'd like more info about making your family happier, all you've got to do is log on to happyfamilies.com.au.